This is Youth Work, the podcast that delves into the lives of youth workers, their journey and their work with young people. Thanks for listening to This is Youth Work. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to receive notifications on future episodes. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to press the like button. Happy days. Hello, everyone. This podcast is supported by Youth Work in Wales, which is directly funded by Welsh Government and currently hosted by Quivis, which is the Council for Wales for Voluntary Youth Services. Welcome, Julia.
Good afternoon.
You
Thank
okay?
you for having me. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yep. All good. All good. We had your students in before you came, 3 of them, and they had nothing but praise for you and the staff at Cardiff Met. So,
Oh, bless them.
No, they were really complimentary. So you'll have to watch what they said, and they'll watch what you're going to say now in the next one. But
We're really proud of all our students.
yeah, no, they done really well, and they're doing well because they went from foundation now onto the degree, which is a really good rate, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. We've had several students that have moved from our foundation programme last year onto the degree, progressing with their careers, and many of them now in employment as well. So making that positive impact to the sector.
Absolutely. So, like, in terms of your role then in Cardiff Met, what do you do? Because they've mentioned you at the foundation stage, and they've also mentioned you in the sort of BA stage. So what do you do at in the uni?
Okay, so at Cardiff Met University, we're quite unique because we've got the foundation programme.
Yeah.
And the foundation, it's a foundation certificate, so an academic qualification. But we've also got the youth support work qualification. So the enables you to register with UWC as a youth support worker. And that's part of the foundation programme.
Yeah.
And we deliver that in partnership with Monmouthshire County Council, really successful programme. So yeah, that's the foundation. It's a year-long programme. We've also got the degree, and we offer that full-time and part-time, so over 3 years or 6 years, depending on pathways. And then we've got our master's programme as well. So we offer the full suite of programmes, and we do a little bit of widening access. So going out into the communities, wider communities all across South East Wales, and talking about opportunities for people to move on into youth work qualifications as well.
Good.
So really exciting time.
So what's your role in there then? Because you're a lecturer then, I guess.
Yes. So I joined, I'm the newest recruit to the team.
Right.
I joined Cardiff Met as a full-time lecturer 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I am the foundation lead.
Yeah.
So it's my responsibility to ensure that the foundation programme is meeting all the requirements because we're professionally endorsed. It's my responsibility to work in partnership with Monmouthshire, and my responsibility to ensure that all of the students are fully supported. But then I also do teach on the degree. So I teach at level 4, which is year 1 of the degree. I've got a module there. I teach at level 5, which is year 2 of the degree. And more recently, I've started teaching at level 6.
Oh, brilliant.
So it's been a really wonderful progression for me into the degree.
You literally do 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes, that's right. So at each level. It's just a privilege to see how the students develop through each level. And to be part of their journey. I suppose it's quite good, isn't it? Because in Cardiff Met, you're unique in that you offer the level 3 as part of the foundation. Is that something that you set up? And if so, what were the reasons to do that? Okay, so it was set up prior to myself joining the team. But I was part of the team when we developed the partnership with Monmouthshire to deliver the qualification. And basically what we wanted to ensure, our qualifications in Cardiff Met, we are very aware they need to be 2 things. They need to be an academic qualification, but they also need to be linked to practice. Okay, so that bizarre word of praxis. The students often get that.
One of them did say it. And I think it was Alex that said it, actually. Fair play to him.
Well done, Alex. And it's we are very aware. All of the team come from practice. Lots of different backgrounds and richness and depth of that experience in youth work. And not just in Wales, but wider. So, we've had people on the team, our programme director, on the masters, has got a background working in London.
Right.
And we've got a lot of associate tutors. We've got professionals that still work in community, still work as youth workers or youth work managers.
Yeah.
And they come in and they support our students as well. Because we're very aware that we need to stay relevant.
Yeah.
And that we need to offer a programme that meets the demands and the ever-changing demands of youth work within Wales.
Yeah.
So really, really exciting time.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose, obviously, normally they're sort of two separate things, isn't it? The level 3 degree, they're normally two, because they're both different and registrable at different stages, aren't they? So what do you think are the differences between them? And can you have one without the other?
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Put you on the spot there.
No, it's a good question. Okay, there are differences. And I guess an easier way to explain it is you've had two levels in terms of social work. So you have degree qualified social workers, and then you have social care support assistants.
Yeah.
It's the same with teachers. You have teachers, and then you will have TAs and LSAs. So I think youth work, we've gone the same way in that we've got the two levels. And youth support work and the youth support work qualification, specifically the one that we deliver at Cardiff Met, is about those fundamental basics. So it's about how do you work with groups of young people? How do you run workshops and activities and programs? How do you ensure that you're working within the 5 pillars of youth work? What are the principles of youth work? What are the key things we need to be aware of? How do we ensure that we're following systems and processes and we're passing on as youth support workers to our safeguarding leads when there's a safeguarding issue? And how do we begin to start thinking about our practice being purposeful? So what theories and policies and the basics are influencing that practice? And for me, youth support work is about it's your open access, it's your universal provision, it's your youth clubs, it's your youth centres. And we know that there are so many wonderful professionals out there, youth support workers, and they've got almost day jobs, which might be similar to, in a similar profession or a different profession. And then they work in evenings or weekends doing your street-based and your youth centres and your youth clubs. And that's where that youth support work qualification is so important, because it differentiates between working with young people and what youth support work is. And work with young people is really important. We know that there's thousands of volunteers right across the UK that give up their time. But anybody can work with young people. Youth support work is underpinned by a set of values that only youth support workers and youth workers know. So there's a fundamental difference between the two. And it's really important for us as a profession to recognise that. And then for youth work, so that progression onto the degree, which for some is what they want to do, not for all. So a youth support work as a standalone qualification is valued. But if we're asking our youth workers, degree qualified youth workers, to work with young people that may have experienced complex trauma, if we're asking, our youth workers to go and work in prisons, if we're asking our youth workers to work one-to-one, or we're asking them to work with really complex issues like county lines or missing young people, then I think it's only right that we expect qualifications and training programs that actually provide those young those youth workers with the knowledge and the skills and the self-awareness to go and do that safely. And I think that's the fundamental difference for me, and teaching on both programs between youth support work and youth work. And I always say to our foundation students undertaking the youth support work qualification, we're dipping your toe in the water with ideas. But when we get onto the degree, what we're going to do is we're going to rip those ideas apart. And we're going to analyse them, and we're going to look at them, and we're going to really develop your self-awareness. Because the more grounded and more aware and more informed our youth workers are, the better service we're offering them. The more preventative we can be. We'll avoid burnout, we'll avoid dangerous practice. And I think that's why we need to really, shout and be proud as a sector about those differences in the two qualifications.
Well, funny enough, I did a Q&A earlier on today, just before your students come on, and one of the questions is why is qualifications important in youth work? Why do we need them? So you've pretty much answered that, and I think the way I've always said is, that you need them. And if we want professional parity with, like you said, formal education and social work, it ought to be, that we strive to that. And Dr. Darryl Williams also asked the question, Should a young person expect a youth worker to be professionally qualified? And what's your view on that, I wonder? It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is. And actually, I think young people deserve the best. And I think one of the ways of, students that undertake a youth work qualification, they are put through it. It's a really, I know at Cardiff Met, our foundation, but also our degree, is really rigorous.
Yeah.
And students go through it and they do develop those skills and those abilities that are required to be the best that they can be to support young people.
Yeah.
And so, I think that young people should expect the best. And I think the best is when you have qualifications that can support it. I think it's really important that the qualification has to do both.
Yeah.
It has to be a training program. It has to, all the theories and the policies and the strategies and the legislation that we talk through, it's about, right, what does this mean and how do we relate it to practice? And does it work and does it not work? Do we need to change it? But there's also the other element, particularly in terms of the academic side of things, where we're asking students to research. We know that within youth work in Wales, we don't, and youth work generally, there's just not enough literature. There's not enough research. We need more of that. And actually, the universities and the HEI programs are in a perfect position to promote that. Because it's that research that will support us to further develop what we can do with young people. And we can research with young people.
100%.
So it's part of that active participation. It's part of that, offering opportunities for young people's voices to be heard. And so I think we do all of that by, through the degree. Yeah. And I think we need both qualifications. And I think both qualifications are valid. And I think people that do the youth support work qualification, so the certificate in youth work practice level 3, if that's as far as they want to go and they're doing that open access, street-based, wonderful, brilliant, and it's fantastic that we've got our workforce. But if we are expecting our youth work professionals to work with more complex issues in ever-changing environments, with all the things going on at the moment, then actually we deserve to give them the best training that we can, which I really do believe we do at Cardiff Met with our degree. And it's, I guess for me, I started out my personal journey. I was a foundation student. I came from a non-traditional background in terms of my learning. And if somebody had said to me 20 years ago, you're going to be in a university lecturing, I'd have laughed. Because there was no way as a young person I was going to university. I had no interest. And here I am. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to celebrate. The fundamental difference of a youth work qualification is that it is a really intense training program as well. And over my career in the last 31 years, and I'm even more passionate about youth work than I was then. I started off working in youth clubs and street-based work and detached programs for local authorities, but also for charity organisations. And then I moved into more complex work.
Oh. I forgot to say, we're in a high school at the moment, and obviously we have the bell rings and everyone has to go to lessons. So I think that's the bell for the end of school now, isn't it?
We'll see them all coming out.
Yeah, we'll all see them all rushing out now. But there we are. But I moved into more complex programs. So I was supporting young people first of all in schools, and there was like a focus on kind of CD grades, which is the SEs. Then I moved into alternative education, colleges, and then eventually into youth justice. And what my qualifications enabled me to do is to really maintain my youth work values in all of those sectors. And to actually professionally argue my case of maintaining those youth work values in those sectors. And I genuinely would not have been able to do that had it not been the qualifications that I had it not been for the understanding of supervision and that pivotal role in keeping me grounded. If I hadn't done the work on myself that I'd done throughout my qualifications, and even when I did my master's, I looked at, I'd gone back into working, in youth work in schools and managing teams of youth workers in schools. And I looked at, what are the complexities of managing youth work in schools? And then you delve into leadership and partnership working and,
again, it comes back to cultures and organisations and value bases. And I really genuinely believe that it's the grounding of my qualifications.
It sounds like it's been like your anchor, really, isn't it? You know, and am I right in thinking that you sort of set out early on in your career to be a youth worker?
No.
It comes across if that was always
I kept going back that way. So I genuinely didn't know that youth work was a career.
Yeah.
I was kind of advised about teaching. I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I was work in formal education, although I've got colleagues and partners who are fabulous. Fabulous teachers in formal education. And I think, as youth workers, we can support them, particularly with the new curriculum. I did my counselling qualifications. But kind of when I talk too much to be a good counsellor. But again, it's those counselling skills, the active listening skills, just being in a space where we're creating those safe spaces and looking for a voice. And I actually I was doing some part-time work in youth clubs, and I had an absolutely amazing senior youth worker. And he kept saying to me, you were made for youth work. You were made for youth work. And then I met Gillian Wilde. And I did my foundation qualification through Gillian. And that was the gateway, really. And then Gillian supported me with my teaching qualifications and said, you need to be teaching this stuff. You've got all this year's experience. And again, that's something that I feel we need to celebrate in youth work in Wales is we're really collegiate and that's something to build on. And that's why I'm so excited with the announcement of the new body and with the, working with yourself, Darryl, with the Youth Work Training Academy, is that actually I really think we're in a pivotal point where there are, with a small sector, everybody knows everyone, but there's a willingness and a determination to work together
100%.
And to move forward and to really put youth work on the map. And so, I'm really enjoying it at the moment.
Good. In a podcast, this is probably the least I've ever spoken.
No, sorry.
This is really good because you've got a lot of knowledge and experience behind you to answer those questions really fully. I don't have to sort of tease anything out. You just sort of got it. But I want to go back to sort of your sort of journey then. So, what was your motivation to get into youth work, other than having the sort of skill set from counselling? What sort of drove you to there? Why did you want to be there?
Okay, so my very, very first experience of youth work was with an organisation called Youth Link Wales that unfortunately no longer exists. But they were, it was kind of post-HIV and AIDS epidemic. And it was becoming really kind of apparent. And if I'm honest, I was like a bit of a mouthy teenager. But I didn't really understand at 15, 16 why adult professionals didn't necessarily listen to young people. And I wanted to know more about that. And I got involved with Youth Link Wales. And the first kind of what I now know was, youth work, really. We worked with doctors, GPs, around the barriers for young people accessing sexual health advice and guidance. And now I now know that this was kind of the pre before schemes like C-Cards and all the amazing work that's been done now. But that was kind of my first experience of being empowered by somebody to say, as a young person, you can get your voice heard. And that feeling was amazing. And so that was my first experience really as a young person myself, young volunteer. And then I started volunteering then in the local youth centres. And all I knew was that I just wanted to give something back, and that I find young people now, I find them, amazing. They care about what's going on in the world. They're resilient, but they're also not afraid to be vulnerable. And I actually think as adults, we could learn so much from young people. And I've always been passionate about young people. They're our future. They're the next generation. And I think it's about challenging those stereotypical views. We've got, we need to do this, and we need to make the world a better place for them, and also support them to make the world a better place. And if we all do that bit by bit, we can do that. So that's the passion, really. And we always say to students, we can teach you the theory, and we can teach you the skills, and we can teach you how to break things down and how to deliver workshops and project plan and all the other things. But actually, we can't teach you the passion. And it's such a privilege now to have moved from being a youth worker and a youth work manager and the other roles, to now teaching our future youth work workforce, because I see the passion in them. And actually, I learn from them. I think, again, a beauty with youth work it's one of those professions where you're never going to know it all.
Yeah. 100%.
And I always say the more you know, the more you don't know.
Yeah.
Because you kind of, well, what's this about? And I want to know more about this. And so yeah, it's just that continual learning and development, and no day ever being the same.
No.
So if you want a really kind of exciting career, where you're bringing in theories from lots of different backgrounds, it might be counselling skills or sociology or psychology, or learning theories or all of those things, then youth work is just perfect.
So fast forward now, you're a lecturer and tutor.
Yes.
And how do you, as a lecturer and tutor, stay relevant to what the current workforce needs? And second part to the question, to lecture you on the youth and community programme, is it a requirement, or do you need to be a previous practicing youth worker? Does it help, or is it a requirement?
Okay, so that's right. Where do I start?
It's a long one, yeah.
Okay, so it is a requirement for me to be qualified and have relevant practice. And actually, my interview at Cardiff Met was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. And they drew upon my, they asked me about my experience. And it's the same in my role with you as Youth Work Training Academy.
Yeah.
I've got to be qualified. I've got to be WC registered. In terms of staying relevant, I think that's two-pronged. When I'm committed, I'm a youth worker first and a lecturer second.
Yeah.
And I always will be. And and that's something that I've had to work on moving into academia and again, grounding myself and it being okay that I'm a youth worker first, a lecturer second. But that enables me to bring that into the classroom.
Yeah.
So everything that I do with students, with the student cohorts, is what I would have done in practice. It's about relationships.
Yeah.
It's about creating safe spaces.
Yeah.
It's about giving them an idea and going, okay, how can we put this into practice, that experiential learning?
Yeah, yeah.
And yes, I'm in a formal education setting, but it's using those informal learning approaches. So when we talk to them about group work, let's not just talk to them about it, let's get you to do it.
Yeah.
Let's get you to look at what goes wrong.
Yeah.
Let's get you to pick that apart. So I am committed to my own professional development. Recently committed my masters. I'm working on homelessness research at the moment. Yeah. I was really privileged to have been part of the National Academy for Education and Leadership. Course, that was an amazing CPD opportunity. And I also have regular supervision. Yeah. So I've got a wonderful supervisor and mentor, Dr. John Rose, who I meet with regularly, and he's been pivotal to my grounding within the university. But then also support from the wider team in the university, and our current interim programme director, Louise Cook, who's been so supportive.
Another shout out.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, good.
And it's just that collegiate approach. So, external to the university, then I work in partnership with lots of the principal youth officers. Yeah. And running programmes and asking them for advice and guidance. And actually for the programme, our programme goes through what they call a revalidation process every so many years. We've got one coming up soon. And we don't just develop that programme as a team. What's pivotal to that is that we go out and we ask, what do you need from us? We ask the principal youth officers, we ask the voluntary sector, we ask, students, we ask young people, what do you need from us? So that process will start again soon. Yeah. And again, it's the same with the GORED certificate in youth work practice. I sit on the working group with the GORED, and I've just been involved in that process. So it's just wonderful to go out and hear what's going on in communities and hear what youth workers need and what do we need to change, what do we need to bring in, what policies have changed, what legislation has changed, what's missing, what are the skills we need. So that's one element of it. But then also it's from the students. Yeah. And again, being a training programme as well as an academic programme, all of our students do placements every year. So they go out and they're working in the field. And it's such a privilege to hear their stories, what's going on, what they're doing, how they're relating what they're learning to their practice. And I still dabble in a little bit of practice myself.
I was going to say, but how do you fit this all in? Because it sounds, if you either got number one, some type of cloning machine somewhere in Cardiff Med, or number two, you just manage your diary really, really well. Because, and I'm not very good at either of those two. I'm not a cloning machine, and I don't manage my diary very well. So tell us all how you managed to fit all of this in. Because you said you're a NIL associate, obviously you're a lecturer, you're part of the foundation delivering the level 3. Yeah. You're also a level 3 tutor for myself as part of the Youth Work Training academy, you're doing research.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Come on, like, there's got to be some type of trick or secret to this.
Days when you kind of get to Friday, you need to put a flannel over your eyes and just lie in a dark room for an hour. It is about being super organised, but it's also about, and I feel really strongly about this, it's about self-care.
Yeah.
And it's about knowing yourself.
Yeah.
It's about that supervision and that mentoring.
Yeah.
That's been pivotal to me to keep me grounded. It's about recognising what you can do and what you can't do. And obviously, I do teach on all those modules, but, my teaching, the university, and I teach so many hours per week, so there are breaks in between my teaching.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We have the summer to focus on our research, to focus on all the redevelopment of our modules. So there are pinch points when we're busy, as with youth work. If you're working on funding bids or reports, there's pinch points. But then there is also time for kind of that
unwind.
That unwind. And again, that partnership working and just being able to rely on colleagues and partners. And if you need support or if you can't find something out, being able to pick up the phone. In the spare time that I do have, I go and run because I just find that running gives me the headspace to process it all and percolate.
There seems to be like a running theme in youth work. Youth workers seem to be runners.
There needs to be some research on that.
I was going to say that a lot of youth workers they seem to like the running aspect, but I would say I'm one of the same, but I don't do very much running anymore. I've got to get into it, So that's why Ed had to heighten the camera to reduce some of my chin to mass ratio.
I'm definitely a team plodder rather than a runner. I'm definitely on the kind of slower side, but I never wanted it to be an extra pressure. It's just something that I go and do, and I just find it gives me the headspace to think about things. And if I've kind of accepted, and it's taken me a long time to get here, it's okay to not know all the answers. I just think that supervision and the pre-briefs, the debriefs and the support, that gives you the time to think things through, and come up with those answers. You don't need to know everything straight away. And I don't fear failure anymore.
No.
I think that's a big kind of, not lesson, but something that we try and instill in students is that we learn the most when we fail at something. Yeah. So it's okay to ask for help. It's okay if something goes really wrong. It's okay if we get things wrong, if we're trying them, because that's how we're learning.
100%.
And if we kind of accept that and stay grounded with that, then we can support young people to do the same, especially at a time when we all, not just young people, but we all get so many messages from social media that everything has to be perfect. It's not life.
No.
No,
and it was interesting. We were having a conversation with the students earlier, and they were saying some of the things he was saying earlier. One of the things that they obviously do get 10 points for was saying the word praxis, knowing what it means. That was really good. But but it's good because some of the things that you're saying, they were also saying, but they came before you did. So it's not like it was managed.
No, we didn't prep them in any way, I promise.
And they were super nervous, and they came in, and to be fair, what they were saying is that they felt like, and you said similar, they felt like they weren't academic. They didn't think they would be able to achieve a degree. And now they're enrolled and starting their lectures. So, and I think that's down to lecturers like yourself, because I don't think, from my perspective, if I ever done a degree not youth work, I probably wouldn't have got through, because I think one thing that's unique to youth work courses, the amount of support the students get. But also, do you think there's a link between like the way in which we do youth work and the way in which we do training for youth workers? Do the
Massively,
two sort of mirror?
Because you cannot learn unless you feel in a safe space and unless you feel that you've got a trusted relationship with the person teaching you.
Yeah.
And so, and I think, my master's looked at, my master's research focused on youth work in schools.
Yeah.
But actually what it pulled out, and it was a few years ago now, but actually what it pulled out and what was really interesting for me, and if I ever do a PhD, I'll look at this, if I ever get time.
When you
one day. It's what it pulled out was Wales' new curriculum and those links with Wales' new curriculum and the 4 purposes and our 5 pillars.
Yeah.
And that we can learn from each other and we can support each other. Teachers do absolutely amazing jobs. They've got, a lot to do. They've got big classrooms. There's loads of other, there's lots of things that can influence and be barriers for young people to learn. And actually, if we work together, how amazing would that be? Because you've got the youth workers who can support, that can work one-to-one with young people or with small groups, that can look at overcoming some of those challenges. It's that focus on informal education. It's those focus on those implicit, soft skills. You always get youth workers play pool with young people. It's that stereotypical image. Okay, but actually, while that's going on, those young people are learning patience. They're developing skills, social skills, hands-eye coordination. They're learning the rules of the game. They're learning how to communicate with each other.
They're often discussing stuff because their hands are busy as well.
And it doesn't feel like an interview, because whilst you're around that pool table, you can be saying, how's things and what's life like and what's going on. And so there is, again, that purposeful youth worker. There's so much going on there. And we know from, recent reports from Welsh Government linked to wellbeing generations, that actually what employers are looking for are those social skills. So while youth work is not about employment, I'm not trying to say that, what we can do is we can work in partnership with other services, that are supporting young people in order to provide young people that real holistic support. And
I suppose it helps them prepare for the next phase of their life, isn't it? And if that is employment, that is a vital skill. Definitely. And I think youth work does have a part to play in employability as well, and that doesn't always mean qualifications and things like that. It sometimes is that softer skills, isn't it? And they sometimes don't go noticed, by wider society, but we know what we're doing, as in we know that there's a reason for us doing that. Like I said, the pool, yes, we're playing pool and it sounds on the surface really good, but actually the methodology behind that, and there's not many youth provisions you find in Wales or across probably the globe that doesn't have a pool table in there, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah, completely. I mean, when I had my youth club, I remember, we had a really good relationship with the community counsellors, and they'd come in, they'd like pop in on a Wednesday. We had a brilliant relationship with them in the end. And they'd walk in and there'd be 60 young people in there, and we'd have 5 or 6 different activities in the hall, and they'd be cooking in the kitchen. They come in, it's chaos. And I go, yes, brilliant.
I know.
Because all of these young people are engaging with these activities that they've wanted to do. And that's when you knew the team were doing what they needed to do, and the young people felt safe.
And they were there because they wanted to be there.
Yeah, definitely. And some of those young people went on and did their qualifications and are youth workers now. And now I feel old. I'm
getting the same. It's savage.
But going back to what you said as well about kinds of academia, and we see this a lot, with students, is I'm not academic. Academia is a skill. And it's important in youth work. It's important to develop those academic skills, because actually if we're writing funding reports, we need them. So it's not just about passing your assessments in university. It's about being able to write reports in a specific way. It's about knowing what funders are looking for. It might be because you're completing a really important report for a safeguarding meeting. It might be that you're writing something for court. I did that when I worked in the youth justice team. So all of these skills, they're really, really important for the professional legitimacy of the profession as well. And I think it is about us as lecturers, and I certainly do this, breaking down that for students and giving them those building blocks and supporting them to develop those building blocks to say, we can teach you how to write academically. We can give you the basics, and then you go away and you practice it. It's a bit like learning to drive a car. You don't again can't drive it. You've got to learn.
Of course.
Those academic skills, you learn them over time, and so I think it's really important that we maintain that. But we maintain it so that when they go into the profession, when they qualify, they're using it within the profession as well.
And they're prepared as well, isn't it? Everything you've taught them, they're prepared and they're actually going to use it. So in every podcast, I ask 2 questions.
Okay.
And so everyone has varying responses to this. So the one is, what are you scared about for the future?
Okay.
And then we end on a positive then. What's exciting about the future? What are you most looking forward to? And it can be you personally, or it can be about the sector. It could be about Cardiff Met. It could be about your roles. It's completely up to you how you answer this. But I always put people on the spot asking this, so you get a real flavour. And to be honest, we've had such a mixture of responses. It's always I find it the most interesting part of it, because people are put on the spot. But
Okay. I think what I'm scared of generally, I have to be very careful here. What I'm scared of is that the world can feel an unsafe place at the moment.
Okay.
And I think that
now more so, or
at this moment in time, it feels for me it feels unsafe, and I I'm aware that for young people, it can feel unsafe.
Yeah.
And how that poses big questions and complex questions.
Yeah.
How as a service do we manage that? And how do we look after our staff, and how do we look after our students in terms of managing that? And that feels a really big question.
Yeah.
What I'm excited about is the announcement of the new body.
Okay, that is a good one.
So again, what's that going to look like? What does it mean for sector? And actually, people that have been in it as long as me, professionals, youth workers, lecturers, we've been banging on about this for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been those building bricks, so registration, professional registration, and now kind of the qualifications, and having the framework. Your role has just been pivotal, and I can, Daryl, working with you and one of the associates for your youth work, the Youth Work Training Academy that you're heading up, has just been a dream come true. It's amazing to be part of it. I mean that.
Thanks for having me.
That's okay. No, brilliant. But yeah, I'm excited about where we could go, and I think we have to, as a sector, work collegiately. We have to get better at marketing.
Yeah.
We have to get better at shouting about, what we can deliver, what we can do, and how we can work in partnerships with others. But a really, really exciting time to be a youth worker, in Wales, and to see where we go next, and just to be part of that.
Yeah. And just to add, in terms of what you're doing an amazing job, so, thank you for everything that you've been doing. And it's really reflected on what the students were saying earlier as well. So, you deserve that. So wear it like a badge of honour.
Oh, we're a team.
It's pivotal. You're doing an amazing job. And, especially the work that you're doing in the training academy as well is come from strength to strength. And, it's sort of flying. So, thank you for that.
It's exciting. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. So, as I said, the next session will be with the Youth Work Strategy and Implementation Board with Sharon Lavelle and Deb Austin and Joe Sims. So, tune in for that. That one's looking at the sort of work of the board and what the next phases are from that, and some of the successes from previous as well. But thank you, Julia, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
This is Youth Work, the podcast that delves into the lives of youth workers, their journey, and their work with young people. Thanks for listening to This is Youth Work. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to receive notifications on future episodes. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to press the like button.